Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttattooandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing.
Hey, it's Jeff McNichol down here at Mom's Music, 1900 Melwood Avenue. I was just thinking, when I was a kid, the magic was at Frankfort Avenue, the Mom's Music at Frankfort Avenue, and I used to beg people to get a ride down there just to hang out with the guys and see all the cool gear. Now that I'm the owner of this store, it's like a dream come true. We're recreating the magic with the vibe that we used to have at the old store. We're carrying all the gear that you're going to possibly want. We're giving you the outstanding service and personal attention that you deserve. Yeah, so we've got the great guitar shop here. We're carrying USA Fender, USA Gibson, Paul Reed Smith, Gretsch, Jackson, Charvel. Anything you could possibly want, we're going to have it for you. Mom's is and always will be Louisville's music store.
Thank you for tuning into the Metal Forge. I am Mark Jackson and I'm your host. The premise of the show is pretty simple. Awesome interviews and awesome music. If you want to contact me, hit me up at metalforgeradio@gmail.com or visit the website metalforgeradio.com. And now let's get this show on the road. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for tuning into the Metal Forge. It's September the 10th by the time I'm dropping this episode, but hey, it could be whenever, when you decide to listen to it. But thank you for tuning in, and thank you for listening each and every week. My name is Mark Jackson, and I am your host. Wow. That was fun. A little bit different for you guys this week, so hey, why not, right? This week's episode, just like a few in August, is why I say things can be heavy without having to have distortion and growling vocals and so on and so forth. I have Jason Hardouin coming in from the band Becoming out of California, and I think you really will dig some of their stuff because it's really cool. I really enjoyed it. I saw them on Instagram. They gave Metal Forge a follow. I followed them back, checked them out, and I was like, I would like to talk to this guy because the concept of everything that goes on behind the music in the band Becoming is really cool. And I'm glad I was able to schedule an interview and share his vision with you guys because, like I said, I think it's rad. I think it's cool. And you know what? That's what the Metal Forge is about. It's about rad, cool stuff that I can share with you all as listeners, and maybe you all will say, hey, that is rad. That is cool. Here's a 20. Let me get an album and a shirt, or whatever the case may be. You're showing the support, and that's what matters. And that is where it is at. So thank you all. So this past week was Labor Day. Extended weekend for most of us. I actually decided to take off the Friday before and the Tuesday after and have myself a little bit of a vacation, somewhat of a vacation. I did work at the record store over the weekend, but that's all fun and games to me because it's, I get to see what comes in, what people are selling and things like that. And obviously, if you click in the links below, you can go to their Discogs page and label page and stuff like that. But yeah, I get to see some really cool stuff. I actually picked up a really rad copy of Eliminator on vinyl, which I didn't have, so that's super cool. and just like some other things that I've gotten to get over the last like few months of working there. I really dig it. Hey, if you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, stop into Better Days Records at 921 Barrett Avenue. That's the Better Days East location. That's where we have everything. If you're into the rap and the hip-hop and the soul and R&B and all that stuff, go to the West location because they've got a bunch of that there as well. And that's at 2600 West Broadway. So, yeah, I mean, Labor Day, it was cool. I really didn't do much on Labor Day. I had a guy come in, and we recorded an interview for an upcoming episode. And so you'll be looking forward to that because it's Pins from Basher. It was really fun. And he's actually going to be on the show, not the 17th, but I believe it's going to be on the 24th is when we're going to drop that episode. But he's a super rad guy. He's actually out on tour as we speak with Savage Master. He's filling in on bass for those Cats and Stacy. So fun stuff all around as it goes, you know. Hey, that's what it's all about, you know. And then, you know, Overload had some practice on Monday. We've decided what we're going to do. We're actually going to be coming up with, in the next few months, we're going to be fine-tuning and the writing process and recording some things for a vinyl release next year. Hopefully early in the year next year. Just depends on time of getting everything done and so on and so forth. Keep you all updated on stuff like that. Thank you all for, you know, for the people out there who have liked both pages of the Metal Forge and Overload. But yeah, fun stuff. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody had a safe Labor Day weekend. I hope nobody got burnt on the grill or anything. If you grill out, a lot of people, we always used to have cookouts when I was a kid there. We'd always have them around Labor Day and stuff. Down below there are links to the sponsors, and without you guys supporting them, they can't support the Metal Forge either. And I am so grateful that you all do help these businesses. Whether you're listening to their podcast, you're buying instruments from them, you're going and getting tattoos, you're going to the Discogs page. Thank you all so much, and continue to please support all of these guys. You know, Ageless Art, Tattoo and Piercing, Mom's Music, Maxwell's House of Music, Better Days Records, Unchained Tapes, Mercenary Press, The Wrestling Steve Show, The Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, the It's Gonna Get Weird Podcast. Keep supporting those guys because every bit helps us at the Metal Forge and it helps them too. Y'all are fucking awesome. Thank you so much. Also, making sure you all click on the Spotify playlists as well. You'll get to hear all of the previous bands that have been on the show, and you'll be supporting those people as well too. Thank you all. But I'm going to keep it kind of short and sweet today. This is from the band Becoming. This is Wish.
Wish a motherfucker would be grateful.
Hey, metalheads, I'm here right now with Jason Hardouin from Becoming in San Jose, California.
What's happening, Mark? What's happening, Metal Forge listeners? How y'all doing?
Dude, I am doing fine, and they're doing fine because hopefully it's nice and sunny out where everybody is today.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not raining.
Free from hurricane rains and smoky California skies from wildfires, Hopefully, by the time you hear this, everything will be copacetic.
Right, and hopefully nobody out there is going through some crazy fucking weather of like 9,000 degree days or anything anymore. Hopefully with it being September now, that things are starting to cool off a little bit for everybody.
Yeah, I can't wait for summer to be over. I mean, I generally love the beach in summer, but this year hasn't been so great for that, with everybody being in lockdown, having to stay home, the COVID fear and the precautions and all that. So, yeah.
I know, 2 years of this now.
I know.
It's insane.
I just tried to find a silver lining, you know what I mean? Like, whether you believe it's real or not, I actually know people who died from it, so I'm pretty sure it's real.
Yeah.
But, whatever side you fall on, it's like, I still wear my mask when I go out. I'm not an anti-masker or an anti-vaxxer. I think it's up to each person to do what they want to do, but, you don't want to be wrong.
Right.
You don't want to be wrong and be like, just carefree about shit, because then you're going to have a bad situation, I'm sure. But regardless, got to be safe, got to be conscious, do the right thing.
And you got to be cool with everybody. I mean, don't just go around. I think that's the moral of the story, too, is not only being safe and being conscious and just respecting one another.
Yeah, I think everybody sort of politicizes shit, nowadays. And it's like, my band, like Becoming, we are pretty anti-politics, anti-fake news and media, misinformation and all that. We try to, just deal with life in the reality of it, you know what I mean, daily.
Absolutely. So that's why we're here today. We're here to talk about Becoming. And looking here on the Metal Archives, this has pretty much been the Wikipedia fact or fiction of the Metal Forge, is, looking at the Encyclopedia Metallum, the big internet database here. So shows that you all started your fledgling career here in the 90s.
Yep.
Take note, kids kids on the Metal Forge. There was a thing called the 90s. And it shows that you all were here, and it started in 1998.
Yep.
Dude, that's rad. This is like 23 years now.
Yeah, it's like, we started in 1998. We put out our first album, which was, sort of like a glorified demo, that we did basically. But it was a full album, nice packaging and the whole bit. And, we toured around a bunch and did all that. It was a different time, right? Like recording technology. We were literally like, lab rats for a recording school where we'd go in and let them record us and be the student projects and stuff. Cause, you had to hustle for time back then.
Right.
And I had literally just written the music and, it was my first time being the lead vocalist and, so I was, in the studio banging it out. And so we toured around quite a bit, and around, 2003, I actually, I became a father, right? I became a dad. And so I put the whole music thing sort of on the back seat, and, did the thing, worked on my career, my day job and all that sort of stuff. And then, around 2007, I was like, all right, I got this music in me. I want to do another album. So about 2009, we dropped our second album, full length album, Sonic Revelations. And then, did, some gigging around and just, some, simple stuff. And then, we sort of took some time off again just to, focus on career, focus on kids and, things like that. And then, last year, 2020, in a pandemic year, I had been working on this album for a couple of years, and I released, In the Name of God, June 12th of last year. And so, I was stoked that, one, it went to number 23 of the top 30, albums being played on FM, XM, and college radio. So I was thrilled about that. But again, it was in a pandemic year, so there was all these like delays and the channel getting, the physical copies of the CD and all that sort of stuff. But I was just thrilled because people were really receptive to it, and getting tons of new fans and friends, and like all the old music that we did back in 2000 and 2000, before this, is still new to new fans. So
absolutely,
yeah, absolutely. And so I'm knee deep in working on the next album right now, and on this next album, I have some special guest appearances, from other musicians. So I've always been, it's kind of like a solo artist, like sort of like a heavy metal Tom Petty, if you will. I play multiple instruments. I play, bass, guitar, drums, do all the production and engineering, and play the mandolin, the sitar, the oud. And whenever, I feel like it, I just bring other musicians in, right, to have them do different parts and stuff like that. And, so I have some really cool guest appearances on this next album. I got, Stick Zadinia, the drummer of Steel Panther. He's doing a bunch of songs. The old drummer for Yngwie Malmsteen and Tony McAlpine and Tarsha from Nightwish, this guy named Mike Tirana.
Nice.
He's just epic, dude. He just finished his track that he's doing with me, and so it's just awesome. I'm working with these like pro drummers and other musicians. I got a bunch of other guest appearances lining up still, and so it won't be so long in between albums this time.
Definitely, definitely. That's always been one of my things that I've always wanted to try, is to get this compilation album out where, you might have like 40 or 50 independent musicians that are all playing like different songs and stuff like that, whether it be original composition, or say you're going to do a metal composition and somebody's going to cover like Enter Sandman or Ace of Spades, and it'd be people who are not necessarily in bands together, which I think would be kind of cool.
Well, that was one of the cool things, right? Look what happened because of the pandemic. You had all these people doing these COVID collabs, right? And I think the one that comes to mind is Charlie Benante drummer of Anthrax. Man, he did some cool stuff, dude. He did this U2 song with the singer of Death Angel and, like some other, musicians. And I love that shit because, I've always had a non-traditional band, right? Think about the traditional band. It's like, okay, you want to make some music, you got to find some other people to play with, and then, okay, if they're, competent enough with their instrument, then you got to deal with their personalities and this and that and the other, and try and manage it, and then, do that kind of thing and deal with egos. And I took a different approach. I'm like, this is my franchise. I already play all the instruments. I just can't play them all at once. And,
so you just hire people out if you want to do it live.
Or have them be a part of it. Have a whole bunch of cast of characters. Like I think my most consistent guy is my lead player, Amir. He was on Sonic Revelations. He's on In the Name of God. I do some solos, but when you hear the really killer solos, that's Amir. So, but again, it's just like, I like the musical freedom, right? It's like non-musical, musical non-monogamy, or whatever you want to call it.
Well,
but,
you hit on something a second ago about, these COVID collaborations, and how all these bands, basically these passion projects that they were bedroom projects or whatever you want to call them, where, say, this guitar player from this awesome fucking band is writing a bunch of songs, and they're not songs for the band he's in, but they could be for something else. And then because they can't practice, then it's like, hey, so-and-so, do you want to lay down some bass tracks? And hey, do you want to lay down some drum tracks? And it becomes this passion project of, we might not ever get to see them be performed live, but it's some killer fucking music.
Yeah, well, the CD or the music files outlive us all, dude. Did you see Jimi Hendrix live? I didn't. Wish I could have. You know what I mean? Still. Yeah, so, but, hopefully, like, the musical, we know the music will outlive all of us, right? So who knows, maybe in 100 years there'll be a time capsule and they'll find, all these heavy metal CDs, and it'll change the world then, too,
I want to put the most recent news article for music in a time capsule for 100 years from now. And I want to put the article from the jackass from the Nevermind album cover.
Oh my God.
I want to put that news article in.
Can you believe that guy?
Yeah, right?
He's just broke, dude. Like, he's like, yo, I need to cash in somehow, you know? But,
yeah.
I mean, you know, his parents got the $250 to let them use them on the album. And then he recreated it himself multiple times over there. I love that meme. My brother just sent me the meme that came out. It was like half of it was the Exodus Bonded by Blood album cover. Yeah. And the other half was the Van Halen cover.
Yep.
You know, and it's all, you know, Exodus album cover babies kick, you know, Nirvana album cover babies ass for being a poser.
Right.
You know,
that
kind of thing. It's just, it's like, you know, hey, that album, him being on an album cover, I'm sure did more harm or more good than bad for him in his life. You know, he's talking to chicks. He's like, yeah, I'm the baby on the Nirvana album cover.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course it was 30 years ago. It's like, well, you can't really prove it. You know, when you show a baby picture, you know, most babies all look alike.
Yeah, but then again, it's like he reenacted. He wanted everybody to know he did that.
Oh, yeah.
Years, like all the different times he did it. But I think Dave Grohl is just going to be like, yo, here's like $500K. Just shut up and go away. You know, like, it's just like, all right, whatever.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day. All with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's Gonna Get Weird is the name of the podcast. We're on season 2, so you have a whole season to get weird with Frank Green and Scott Clark. The best part is there's always laughter.
Oh, yeah, you need to pull that out.
We have national touring comedians, NFL stars, rock stars, your local friends. It always gets weird. Weird answers.
Have y'all ever snorted coke off of a 78 Pinto? No? You ain't no band.
Weird questions.
Who had a bigger cocaine habit, Jock Sutherland or Kaywood Ledford?
Neither one, because they stopped beating their wives.
And weird we never even thought of.
Well, no. My friend is on acid, and I sent my friend to go find a payphone so that I can call and turn myself in for murdering this guy and ruin my life.
We love all types of people, but we don't love all people.
Weird. It's Gonna Get Weird is the name of the podcast, available everywhere. And thank you to Big X Sports Radio for being a proud sponsor of It's Gonna Get Weird. Frank Green, Scott Clark. Yeah.
You also said something else a few minutes back that I do want to hit on as well. We were talking about recording back in the day. And I don't get to talk about a lot of this on the show with a lot of people that, in the same, because I started recording bands, and my band in particular, around that same time period, around
analog reel-to-reel. Right? No fucking drum loops and special effects bullshit. You actually had to do a full take.
Absolutely. And it was, and actually when I first started recording music was on a Tascam 4-track.
Hell yeah, I had one of those. You had to punch in with your big toe. Because you had to, you're like your big toe. You're like, okay, I got to chop this solo. How am I going to do this? Play the guitar and then, punch in at the same time. Yeah, on your guitar solo.
Because nobody was there to help you.
Yep.
And
I remember those days. And you only had 2 microphone inputs trying to capture a full drum kit, a bass, a drum, and a guitar, and a vocal with 4 tracks only.
Yeah.
And learning how to ping pong shit down.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so much easier now, dude. Like, people will never know, Mark. People will never know the struggle.
Kids today will not know what a tape deck was to record on.
Hey, but on the flip side of that, it's like, when I record now, I'm like, oh shit, look at this. I got as many tracks as I want,
Right.
And it's like, you get really good quality recording. And it's like, I record everything at my house. I do all the production and engineering. I got to go pay nobody for studio time. And, when I'm done with my stuff, I just ship it off to Zeus. he does my mixing and mastering, and we drop albums, you know.
Hell yeah.
Like Zeus is an epic talent, right? So you have to have an outside ear, right? Like,
yes.
you know, there's no, I feel like, you know, everybody does, right? Even if I like it to be objective. I don't like it to just be some hack, you know. So Zeus actually, Chris Zeus Harris, he mixed and mastered Sonic Revelations, and he did this one as well, In the Name of God. I mean, he's worked with everybody, Hatebreed, Shadows Fall, does a lot of stuff with Rob Zombie now, and, you know, just, you know, tons of killer bands that he's been, you know, Queensryche and all these other bands he's worked with, a lot of hardcore and like crazy metal bands. So I just love the work that he does. So shout out to Zeus.
Yeah, shout out to, absolutely. One of the cool things about that whole deal with the recording back in the day is it honestly reminds me of a time where recording really didn't change much for such a long time until about the mid 90s, professionally in the mid 90s, I would say, with recording stuff to digital.
Yep.
And it's really interesting to be able to apply techniques bands in the 60s and 70s used, you know, when we were doing this 20 plus years ago.
Right.
You know, where you're bouncing down tracks and putting your drum mix on a single channel, and then you're trying to record, you know, a guitar solo overdub and a vocal overdub.
Shit, now you could freaking record it MIDI and then turn your guitar into a freaking trumpet if you wanted to.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's crazy, but it's such a good deal. And the thing about it is like, and I mentioned this a few weeks back here with the Histrionics, it's like, yeah, now most of us are trying to get back to recording to tape. With
right, because you get that analog warmth, right?
Yeah,
analog warmth is hard to mimic. They've only in the last few years got it close to analog warmth, right? You know, and here's the downside of right? The upside is like, hey, we got this killer technology, and, you know, it's only as effective as, like a sword, as effective as the person, you know, wielding it, right? But now you got just an overflow of fucking people who put out their what they call music, and, you know, it's all subject to personal preferences and stuff like that. But there's a lot of garbage out there, dude. You know, I mean, some people probably think our stuff's garbage, but, you know, who cares, right? It's so easy to do.
Everything is subjective.
And I'm kind of a purist. Like, I don't do a lot of like cutting and pasting and, you know, special effects and doing all that. It's like, if I'm going to do a guitar track, I'm going to do a solid take, you know, and things like that. And, you know, it's just, I don't know. For me, I'm like, you know, I want to know that, you know, it's like, I mean, because today you don't even have to be able to play anything perfectly. You can just go in and edit it these days. But again, I'm a purist, so like, I don't like to cheat the system, you know?
Definitely. So when you do get into the writing process, how does that work for you? Because you said you played everything and recorded everything.
Yeah. So, you know, for me, it usually starts with either a drum beat or a guitar riff, right? You know, I'll get off work, I'll sit down behind my drums, and I'll just start going to it. I find a beat I like, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of in my mind, and I'll start recording it. And then I'll just build from there, right? Or occasionally I'll have, like, you know, a topic that's on my mind, you know, lyrically, and, you know, I'll start putting together, you know, what I think a verse would be, and then I'll put a guitar part to it, and then I'll do the beat later or what have you. So, it's just, you know, it's always, I try to hear the songs from a holistic perspective. You know, I started out playing, you know, violin in the 4th grade, then I started playing bass when I was like 14, and then guitar around that same time. And the practice place was always at my house, so I always had a drum kit, so I was learning the drums and stuff like that. And for me, it's great because I can talk to other musicians in their own native speak, right? So when I talk to a drummer, I'm like, no, it goes, do-gat, 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 you know, do the kicks, do the ride, just, you know, like, you know, or I can illustrate it for him, right? And then when you talk to a guitar player, like, no, it goes,
right.
You know, you speak their language, right?
Definitely. And it's always been interesting to me how many bands have multi-instrumentalists playing them. See, I can play some things. I can't play drums to save my life. If you held a gun
it's hard, dude.
It is. If you held a gun to my head and said, play this fucking song, you might as well just shoot me.
I think drummers, you know what's, I'm like very pro drummer because I think drummers historically have gotten fucked, right? You know, they get cut out of the publishing, they get cut out of the copyrights. There's just like, okay, you played the drums, but you didn't write the song. So it's kind of fucked, right? But I feel like if you put in the sweat equity and you were like a part of the, you know, creation process, then you get credit. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you know, it is a business, you know, but at the same time, it's like, you know, you hear stories. I love watching those like documentaries on like Prime and Netflix, like the old musical documentaries. And the one that sticks out in my mind was, I think it was Billy Joel. Man, Billy Joel, he had almost everybody he ever played with was mad at him because of something like that, you know,
because he took credit for everything apparently. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I was just watching The Big Talk with Dan Rather, and he was speaking with Geddy Lee.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, this is from a while back. I think it was from right before Neil passed away, honestly, because he asked the question. He's like, "Will Rush ever go back out on tour again?" And Geddy was like, "No, I think we're done with that." So,
yeah, try finding a replacement for Neil.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
impossible.
And Geddy brings up something in there where they had one argument one time on like Caress of Steel era. They all looked at each other and said, "Okay, well, I didn't write the drums. You did. I didn't write the guitar. You did. And I wrote the bass line. So we never have to have this conversation again. Everybody's got credit."
There you go. You know, most of the time when I write stuff, I'm like, I bring it to the musician. Like, you know, whenever I have a song, I'm like, oh, here's my version of a drum track. Let's have you put your spice on it, right? So, you know, when you properly demo songs, it's so critical when you're working with other musicians to like demo songs right, you know?
Right.
And that way you get what you want in the end. So it's yeah. But yeah, it is dirty out there, you know. You hear the stories about Dave Lombardo and his beef with Slayer and never getting to publishing and all this type of stuff, and it's just like, really? Dave Lombardo?
Oh yeah.
You think he would be an even partner, you know?
And you know, here's the messed up thing with that too, is Metallica's that way also. Everything is a Lars and James creation. Very rarely, you know, is Kirk's name on something, or Jason's, or Rob's, or Cliff's for that matter.
Yeah, but then if you're Rob, they're just like, yo, here's $1 million. Just come in, smile, and play bass, bro. What are you going to do? You can be like, no, you're like, all right, cool. This is my job.
I get that. Don't get me wrong. You know, I hear what you're saying, and I know everybody got to see that in Some Kind of Monster. But look at it this way. He has effectively been the longest bass player in the band.
I think Robert's a freaking amazing bass player, dude. When I go back to
he is
Lights, Camera, Revolution. Bro.
Oh God, yes.
And then let's talk about the Infectious Groove stuff. Like, you know, like, whew, Send Me Your Money, dude. The bass lines on that song are dope,
dude. His
kid's pretty badass too. Lost Again, totally. You know, but his kid is even an amazing bass player. He subbed in for Korn on that tour a while back. I was just like, dude, kid's like 15, or however, little teenager kid out there rocking the stage to a huge audience in Korn.
Okay, but I am going to say this. Yes, I know his son is bad fucking ass, okay? But, I mean, he really didn't have to do much. He was replacing Fieldy. I mean, he had to down tune to that fucking A and just go clack, 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 clack. Clack, clack, clack.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I remember, you know, when Korn first came out, you know, I was still in my, you know, thrash metal only phase, you know, and, you know, when I listened back to Korn many years later, I was like, dude, these guys actually did something cool, right? And they did flip it on its head. They changed the structures and the drop tunes, and, you know, like them and Limp Bizkit have a lot of that car alarm sounding noises.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's cool. It's like they call it pig squeals or whatever, and all these, you know, the metalcore, like, you know, noisy like lead licks and shit like that. You know, like I grew up on like guys like Yngwie Malmsteen, Eddie Van Halen, George Lynch. You know, I always loved the virtuoso guitar players. You know, but you know, again, it's like, I think there's something good in all of the different styles of music. You can find the elements that you like, you know, like before, you know, Korn and them, there wasn't a lot of people doing that, you know, that bounce groove the way that they do. So, you know, everybody brought a little something, and it's, you know, flash forward to August 2021 when we live today, right? It's like there's just so much stuff out there and there's so much to be influenced by. And again, it goes back to my thing. It's like, hey, I'm genre free, man. I play what I feel, and it just happens to be metal. You know, it's kind of like a spiritual metal experience, non-religious. A lot of people thought we were a Christian band, you know, but if I want to throw a blast beat, I'm going to throw a blast beat. If I want to throw a bounce beat, I'm going to throw a bounce beat.
Right.
I'm just, you know, making good songs and
like
good
you
messages.
Said, it's like a metal Tom Petty at that point, you know. So why not, you know? And I think he was a immensely heavy musician, but not necessarily in the terms of distortion. And I've said that countless times on the show. Things can be heavy without having effects and distortion and shit like that. Subject matter to me defines heavy.
Totally. And like his thing was like, he tried to be like, yo, here, you guys are the Heartbreakers, you're my band. But then over time, it's like commitment levels and things like that, right? So, you know, he's the franchise owner, right? And everybody else is a player on the team. And, you know, Tom was always cool. I've, you know, seen a bunch of his documentaries and stuff. And it's just like, you know, again, he was just like, okay, well, you know, you ain't willing to step up and do your part, you know, I'll fucking put somebody else in that spot. Right. You know what I mean? He's like, these are my songs. This is my gig. You know, I'm doing my thing. I'm fucking Tom Petty. And, you know, you're either ride or die or you're along for the ride. What you want to be.
And you know, he was the one that got away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never got to see Tom Petty live. And
Me either.
And I hate that. And, you know, I was actually talking, I think I talked about this on the show a while back. And I don't get to talk Tom Petty with a lot of metalheads because even though they like him, it just never gets brought up. You know, one of the interesting things is you're talking about him being a franchise owner. Absolutely. But the funny thing about it is, even on his solo albums, the fucking Heartbreakers are playing on it.
Yeah.
He's another multi-instrumentalist musician. You know, he could play drums, he could play bass, he could play guitar. He did what the song warranted for him to do. You know, almost as much as a Don Henley minus the politics. Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code METALFORGE10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com. Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. To distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code METALFORGE to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now. So let's get into some general profile questions about you.
I know we've just been chatting all straight up, like going for it, right?
Yeah, this is cool because this is what the show is. It's conversation based. What do you do to get away from music?
So, my wife and I, we garden, dude. Like, you know,
Nice.
yeah, I live in California, so I'm not growing weed, but like I've got like a
But you could. Because you're in California.
Yeah, I could, you know, but I totally could. But no, I grow cayenne peppers, jalapeno peppers, habanero peppers, you know, basil and all this stuff. You know, it's just like, you know, I'm just getting that fresh out of my yard, dude, for cooking, dude. So I love to cook. I love to garden, stuff like that, you know, work out, you know, hit on the heavy bag, you know, things like that. My wife is, you know, she's pretty hardcore, dude. She's beating up the boxing dummy daily now. So
nice.
You're trying to just, keep busy during this time, because you don't want to be going out all the time. And especially with, we'll go out occasionally, but, it's not like we're going to go to like some indoor concert right now. You know what I mean? It's just a bad idea, So yeah, we spend a lot of our time just chilling, we love to watch, like, so I put up this movie screen in my backyard and and it's like, so we get the projector out. We're like, all right, Friday night's movie night, so we'll get dinner and we'll watch some old concerts and shit. So it's like,
and being a musician, you'd probably do what I would do and like put like a practice PA up there.
Like heavy metal karaoke.
Well, no, I'm saying like put your practice PA out there.
Oh, for the sound.
For the sound, yeah. And then it's like
I got one of those. Yeah, I got one of those, like, these, like, I'm like hooked on Amazon too, right? I mean, who isn't these days? But I got this cool little Bluetooth speaker, like, projector. This shit was like hella cheap. And I was like, whoa, listen to this thing. It sounds good.
Hell yeah.
You plug it into your phone and, bam, it's on the movie screen. So I think the key right now, like, is, finding things to do that keep you busy and bring you joy, right? So if it doesn't, my rule is if it doesn't bring you joy and make money, then I ain't got time for it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, I mean, if the older you get, the more you realize it's like, dude, I don't need a huge circle of friends. It's just like, I'd rather have, a small circle of friends that are actually authentic, real friends rather than a bunch of, jack-offs trying to come up off of you. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's one of those things, right? I really appreciate, the relationships in my life. I really appreciate, everything, and I think when you start with that attitude of gratitude, it makes life a lot better, right? The world is full of miserable people, there's a lot of shit going on. It's hard to, stay positive in, turbulent times, for a lot of people, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of depression and a lot of, fear and like a lot of anxiety, man. It's shit. I mean, rightly so, dude. You just turn on the news and you get inundated with that shit, and always something happening. So, I try to focus on things that are like positive and, trying to resonate on the good frequencies. You know what I mean? So.
For sure.
That way you can draw more of that into your life. So, yeah, and in terms of just like getting away from music, I don't know if I ever want to get away from music. I mean, there's times where I just get away from the business of music. I'm just like, so fucking annoying. Everybody's, got an angle, trying to sell you some shit, you know what I mean? And then there's always going to be fucking haters, like, I don't know if you heard the new song we just dropped called Wish.
Absolutely.
Wish a motherfucker would. That song was really in the context. It's like anytime you hear I wish a motherfucker would, it's like something negative, right? But that song, I made it to be like the complete opposite. It's like, I wish a motherfucker would have a good life, have a good time, get hyped, like it's so like, I wish that everybody has a good life, you know what I mean? And, I think that, it's tough out there, and there's always going to be that one person that's not going to like what you're doing, but you just can't take it personally. You just got to keep on forging your own path. And, I like what Chris Rock, I think it was Chris Rock, and he did or Cat Williams, I think he did a skit on haters. He's like, just let the haters hate. It's their job to hate,
Right.
So, and again, I do things because it brings me joy, makes me money, and I like to, be happy. So life's too short for everything else. You know what I mean?
Definitely. What was your first concert?
My first concert was Fleetwood Mac. My parents were super cool. Like, God bless them, my mom's still alive, rocking it, she loves like the old Journey and Boston and Fleetwood Mac. But when I was a kid, I think I was preteen, and I was, they took us to see Fleetwood Mac, and dude, I saw Mick Fleetwood do this crazy drum solo, blew my mind, even by today's standards, you know what I mean? And then, I got into some later concerts. I got to go see Motley Crue, man. Like my older brother, 4 years older, I got to give him a lot of credit for, my musical adventures, right? Cause like, growing up here in the Bay Area, it's like, you had Exodus and Testament and Metallica and Forbidden and Death Angel playing out at the clubs. And, I was just I didn't even have a car, dude. So like, I'd make my mom make him take me with him to the like local band shows. So it was cool. I got to see these bands, but I got to give my older brother a lot of the credit for that early music exposure. Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely.
So since you're the age that you are,
mm-hmm.
and living in the Bay Area like that, what band did you see at their earliest on a local show?
So I got to see Slayer at Mountain View Theater. That was pretty hardcore. It was just like a tiny, tiny little concert, I got to see, like the Omni, the Stone, One Step Beyond. These were like the big clubs. But earlier than that, there was like Ruthie's Inn and some of these others. I never got to go to a show at Ruthie's Inn, but, I was way too young at that point. But, I remember seeing Spastic Children, which was a side project of Metallica at the Omni in Oakland.
Where James was the drummer?
Yeah. Oh, you know.
I know who they are.
Back in the day, And
Dude,
so I got to see tons of bands and like all the local bands that, what's interesting is a lot of those old school local bands, like, they're everybody's, I think COVID sort of reconnected a lot of people, so there's, Violence just got back together. You know what I mean?
Violence just got back together. Exodus is reunited with Zetro.
Yeah, they're about to drop a new album, or it just came out, I think.
I think it's about to drop. Yeah, they just released a single here a couple weeks back.
Yeah, see, it's like one of those things, right? Music's going to be in your blood, and you got to do it for the right reasons, and you're always going to have that fire in your belly, or you're not, right? And if you don't have the fire in your belly, and you don't have the patience, and if you're trying to just do it to make money, then it's you're not going to really get far, Well, I mean, who knows? A lot of the more popular stuff on the radio, it's like you can tell they're trying to make money. They're doing a good job at it, but the music just lacks substance, or the lyrics lack substance, and that's just my opinion, but I like stuff that is actually, I don't know, uplifting and motivating, and it's real. It's not just like, yo, I take a bunch of Percocets, and everyone's a hoe and a bitch and all this stuff. It's just like nonsense, dude. Like, what are you singing about? Like, I got kids. I don't want my kid, and I don't want to sound like, hey, get off my lawn like an old guy.
No, I know exactly what you're saying with that.
But like, I got daughters, and I'm like, yo, I don't want my daughters listening to that fucking garbage. Cause like, if your daughter starts talking about WAP and all this shit, you can be like, oh, hell no,
Right.
So, I'm just grateful my kids listen to good music.
For sure. Definitely. What was your favorite TV show growing up?
Oh man, growing up, I loved Headbangers Ball on the weekends. That was like my thing. I didn't watch too much wrestling. I loved like anime cartoons. Like I loved Robotech. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Robotech and Voltron. Those were my cartoons as a kid. I was totally into those. And then, like on Friday nights, Knight Rider. That was the shit.
Nice.
The talking Trans Am or whatever car with David Hasselhoff. That shit was funny. You look back at that now, and you look back on that stuff now. You're like, oh my god, it was so cheesy. But it was the best thing then, but that's just, everything, grows and innovates over time,
Oh, for sure. And this is the cool thing about streaming and shit now.
Hey guys, Wrestling Steve of the Wrestling Steve Show here. So if you're currently listening to the Metal Forge with Mark Jackson, then you understand that Mark Jackson has a pretty discerning taste when it comes to music as a whole. You'll also understand that he has a discerning taste for professional wrestling, just like me. My show is called The Wrestling Steve Show. I talk about modern and classic pro wrestling in a completely unbiased, unfiltered way. Be sure to check me out on all available podcasting platforms. That is The Wrestling Steve Show. And I am the host, Wrestling Steve. Just remember, like Confucius said, man who goes through turnstile in Thailand is going to Bangkok. Pro wrestling.
Hey, it's Mark Maxwell at Maxwell's House of Music. Listen, all this stuff is now available to purchase on our website. Check it out at maxwellshouseofmusic.com.
We carry all the top brands, like Fender.
We got Gibson.
We also have basses.
We've got ukuleles.
We got drums.
We've got sound gear.
We've got keyboards.
What is something you've always wanted to do, but you're not coordinated enough to do?
I'd love to play drums like, Charlie Benante or Dave Lombardo. I mean, I play drums, but like, I'm not as good as them. Sometimes you feel like you got two left feet, but yeah, I feel like I'm pretty balanced. I did a lot of martial arts as a kid, so you have to have a lot of balance and stuff like that. But I'm pretty coordinated. I'm not ambidextrous. Like I can't write with my left hand or nothing like that. But some people can.
Definitely, for sure. What do you collect?
What do I collect? Actually, I collect. It's funny. Instruments, right? So I got this Chinese Gokin. It's the name of the instrument, Goqin. It's freaking awesome, right? I got a Turkish oud, I got an Indian sitar, and I find these instruments, I've got a bunch of guitars and different things. But yeah, it's just like, some instruments, it's like I got this little harp, I never play it. It just it's like a decorative piece, but then like everything else, it's like, oh cool, I get it with an intent to learn it and practice and, step up my musical skills in different ways, think outside the box a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of, I'm sort of a minimalist too, right? So it's like, that saying, the things you own you. Right. So I've never been, I collect, like gemstones, for like certain purposes. Right. It's like, all right. You get your obsidian or whatever to, or your hematite to dispel negativity,
For sure.
Whether you believe it or not, it is what it is. But, it's just like, I think, I'm not, much into collecting things I like to have things that are practical, but, when I do go in and get something like, I go in, and I get what I want.
Well, but you said instruments, which is a practicality because creation.
Yeah.
So it's all
I used
practical.
to collect comic books as a kid, but now it's like I passed that torch to my kids, so it's like they collect comic books. And when I was a kid, I collected the G.I. Joes and the Transformers. And then when I was a teenager, I sold all that shit. And He-Man, yeah, dude, they're actually remaking that, I think.
But it's on Netflix right now. The first part,
oh no,
the first half of the season.
That's funny. Like I sold when I turned 16. I sold all my fucking toys and comic books and bought my first car.
Nice.
Traded in my skateboard for a freaking little beater car, and that was the first, independence, where you're out doing your thing. I was stoked it could fit my guitar amp in my guitar, that was it. I had a little hatchback, but then that was it. I was off to the races,
Just think, for the amount that you sold them for when you turned 16.
Oh, I don't want to think about that.
Had you waited 30 more years.
Dude, I had some killer X-Men comic books back in the day.
Even just the toys. Had you waited, depending on condition, obviously they were played with, but depending on condition, on those Masters of the Universe and G.I. Joe toys and even Transformers.
I had the original Snake Eyes, dude. That would be worth tons right now.
Yeah.
But, what can you do? What can you do?
Definitely. If you had to pick one, what album would be an absolute playthrough for you?
I'm going to go with Dark Side of the Moon. Or if let's talk metal, I'm gonna go with Slayer. It's tough to decide between Seasons in the Abyss and South of Heaven, but that is always, everybody's like, yeah, Rain and Blood. I loved Rain and Blood too, but Slayer really matured, and I feel like they crushed it on South of Heaven.
Show No Mercy.
Well as yeah, I like that shit too. That was like this first stuff, but like for me, like again, it goes in that same thing, like the production, song quality, and their musical ability and stuff. I feel like they sort of hit their stride with Seasons in the Abyss, as well as, and just the quality of the songs and just everything like that, from South of Heaven. And then the first album they did with Paul Bostaff, Divine Intervention, like those to me are my three favorite Slayer albums. Yeah, all the other ones are cool, but those three for me are like, dude, I can listen to those any day of the week, and then, Anthrax, Among the Living, and like, that sort of stuff too,
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if I had like the Desert Island album, I'd have to go with something from Pink Floyd.
Well,
maybe something from.
You mentioned Dark Side.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfect album.
I would agree.
I mean, it's exactly 45 minutes.
You hear all those like little things, or did you ever see them sync it up to the Wizard of Oz?
Of course I have.
Take some mushrooms and watch Wizard of Oz with
I didn't
Dark Side of the Moon.
That
was like a thing back in the day. Everybody's like, dude, you got to see Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, sync to the Wizard of Oz on mushrooms. I remember when I was a kid, that was like one of the things everybody was touting doing. I will not confirm or deny whether I did that.
I didn't take the mushrooms. I will confirm that I did not do that. But I did watch it with Dark Side playing over, and it is very eerie how it does sync up.
It's a trip.
I mean,
one of the things I miss is like they have these planetariums here in the Bay Area. I haven't been to anything, but they have like the Pink Floyd laser light show. You know, it's just here's a show about metal, and we're like like love fest for Pink Floyd, right? Well, I think it's like you can't just be like. I only listen to death metal.
Oh, no. Like... And that's what I said there and said. Things can be heavy, but not have to be distorted.
Yeah. I think, what helps me keep my metal as original as it is like, the
funnel,
amount. Yeah, the amount of stuff that I listen to, right? Everything I listen to is like purpose, I mean, you'll catch me listening to some Ice Cube or some Dr. Dre occasionally. The old school hip hop, like the Innovators when it came out, and like the Bay Area, not only is the Bay Area like really known for thrash, but Bay Area hip hop, like and like rap music, like some of the real innovators from here, so I got the distinct pleasure of growing up around all of that stuff, right?
Right. Hell yeah. So I do have one more question for you.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, do you have any shout outs you want to give?
I want to give a shout out to Chris Zeus Harris for always, doing such an amazing job on our mixing and mastering. I want to give a shout out to Melody Myers for doing such a killer job on our lyric videos and our album artwork. Shout out to the Becoming Tribe, all of our, 35,000 plus fans, globally that are just like diehard and, things like that. Shout out to you, the Metal Forge, all your listeners and, basically anybody and everybody who's believed in us. If you want to learn more about Becoming, go to facebook.com/Becoming Band. Go subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/Becoming Band. Instagram.com, the band Becoming, right? It's the only place where the URL is different. And, Twitter.com/Becoming Band. And then also if you go to, we just have becoming.band. That'll take you to our Reverb Nation page. You can, sign up on the mailing list. You can get 6 free song downloads. You can just crank them up, share them with your friends and, find links to all of our other, places to follow us and subscribe and enjoy the music and join the Becoming Tribe.
Hell yeah. And as always, links will be listed below. As he just said them, I will be listing them in the description below, so get down there, give a click, give a like, a share, a follow, share it with your friends, go in, buy whatever you can from these guys, support them in any way you can, because that's what this is all about. This is about the support of music.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. So, last question of the day is, what album changed your life?
There was a few. I remember, when I was a kid, I remember you probably did this too, but like, before you had a car, I had a skateboard. And I remember I had one of those Ghetto Blaster boom boxes. And this was still working with audio cassettes back in the day, all right? Audio cassettes. And Quiet Riot, Mental Health, dude. Bang Your Head. That shit was just like, I got that tape. I was like, oh my God. And then Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. I was just like, whoa. That was like where my metal journey started. Cause when I was younger than that, I was like listening to like the Pink Floyd stuff and the Boston and Journey and Fleetwood Mac and Kiss. Like that was like my mom's stuff that she was digging, but then after I got into like Quiet Riot, Twisted Sister, Motley Crue, and then it was like boom, Slayer, Metallica, and then later it was, the Panteras and Sepulturas with Max, and things like that, and Death, and then, all the guitar virtuosos so stuff, My favorite 80s rock band was Dawkins,
Yeah.
And so, and Motley Crue was pretty tight back in the day. I mean, everybody ages, but, I don't know. There was something about it back then. And then over time, I just started playing heavier and heavier, Love Slipknot when they first came out, But yeah, I think the audio cassette, one of the album, I was like, that's it. This is it. It was probably Metal Health by Quiet Riot back in the day. Run for Cover. That's such an epic song, dude. Everybody knows Bang Your Head and Come On Feel the Noise, but when you dig in, you got some other hits in there, right?
Oh yeah, bangers. It's like I said, why I asked what album is an absolute playthrough, because not everything is a hit, but there are some awesome fucking tracks out there.
There's so much good music out there. It's like, I encourage everyone to just, always broaden the horizon, don't just get stuck on one thing, In fact, the word, mode, right? Like musical terms, the word, and Alex Skolnick of Testament taught me this when I, took guitar lessons from him, in my early 20s, which is a funny story in itself, because I showed up high and he got all pissed off. He's like, don't be coming in here stoned ever again. I was like, oh shit. He's like, buy a metronome. We're working on theory. I was like, buzzkill. But he was right, but the word mode, right, in the musical scale is actually derived from the word mood. Right. So depending, whatever your mood is, there's a music to suit it. There's a song for everything in this life, So, just keep an open mind, find out what you like, and you don't have to like everything. Just like what you like,
Exactly.
But don't hate on others. Don't hate on others for what they like, Music's the universal language, man. I think it's the great uniter too. So.
Absolutely. And I could not have said that better myself.
Boom. Right on.
And there it is.
This was cool, Mark.
Hell yeah. So, thank you so much, Jason, for coming on the show this week. This has been super cool. Just shooting the shit and having a good time talking.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate the time. Thanks for having us on. And, looking forward to, seeing you grow into the future, man, and staying homies.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. So, on our way out today, what song do you want me to play?
I would say if you're only going to play one, play In the Name of God.
Definitely. So, you heard him. This is from Becoming In the Name of God.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of The Metal Forge. I want to take a minute to remind you guys about the Patreon page. Over on the Patreon page, we have the tiers set up to support the production of the show. We feature the Down and Dirty, which is just $1. There's nothing special for that one, it just sends me a thank you because every dollar helps. Then there's the Double Down and Dirty. Much akin to the Down and Dirty tier, everything helps produce the show in the end. You make your presence known, and I appreciate that more than you realize. Thank you for being a dedicated friend and supporter to the Metal Forge. By selecting that tier, you will receive some cool Metal Forge stickers in your mailbox. Now, we're really going to start pounding the metal madness with the Apprentice Metalhead for just $5 a month. By becoming an Apprentice Metalhead, you'll be given early access to the shows, published 24 hours before everyone else gets it. You're also going to receive 3 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You're also going to receive a 10% discount on all Metal Forge merch, and you're going to receive a sweet Metal Forge patch for your battle jacket or backpack. And now, here is the big one. This is the Master Metalhead for just $10 a month. By becoming a Master Metalhead, you will receive a hand-numbered Metal Forge Master Metalhead membership card. You're going to be given early access to the shows as well, with 36 hours before everyone else. You're going to receive 5 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You'll be able to submit audio questions that I will use on the show of you asking questions to the upcoming guests. Remember, timing is everything, and you will need to keep up with the upcoming guest list on the website. You're also going to receive advanced knowledge of any new merch coming out and be given a 25% discount on all Metal Forge merch. And you're also going to get all of the other rewards from the other tiers. So visit patreon.com/Metal Forge Radio today and help support the Metal Forge. Rock on.